Hi everyone, my name is Nick, and today we're going to be talking about my personal best plant purchases for 2020. I did the same exact video for last year, 2019, so I figured why not do it again this year to help recap this wild year. We've made it to the end of 2020, fortunately. This year has simultaneously felt like it's been going by extremely fast and extremely slow at the same time, but we made it. And this year obviously has been turned on its head because of coronavirus, but as a result of that, the plant market has really been running amok. Availability and prices have been completely erratic, so that's something to really look forward to for 2021. I don't see it getting better anytime soon, but hopefully it doesn't get that much more worse. It's bearable right now. I just hope it doesn't go on to the end of unbearable. That's a rant for another day. Anyway, a lot of these plants are ones that I actually got like before coronavirus, the pandemic at least hit the United States, because after that, a lot of plants really became inaccessible. Have I been purchasing plants? Absolutely, but I was also a buyer at a plant store, so I had like very good access to houseplants. And now that I'm not doing that anymore, I think I'm probably going to take a little bit of a break going into 2021. I mean, you're hearing me say that now. I know it's not going to be a strict break. I'm still going to buy houseplants. There's still going to be new things that I want to buy and things I stumble upon, but I think it'll be a really good time for me to really focus on attuning my space to making it look the way that I envision it looking in my mind. So I'm excited to do that. Obviously, I have enough plants around me, but without further ado, we're just rambling now. Let's get started. So I want to talk about this one first. So this is a Hoya. This is Hoya Fungii, I'm not really sure how to pronounce it. And this is one that I got earlier on this year. I think I ordered this in like the online plant shop of me video when I was ordering from an online site. And that was like very early on in the pandemic, like right when we were at home. And I'm pretty sure like within a month or two after that is when prices started to skyrocket. So I'm glad that I got into some of my online plant shopping before then. But this Hoya Fungii, I was actually kind of like getting a little scared for it because I had it on my desk where I do my work, and it was kind of starting to do that thing that Hoyas do where like at the base of the plant they get kind of like woody and hollow and they're basically dying, and I was like, crap, I don't know what to do. And it had like 6 beautiful leaves on the plant when I purchased it, and then it was down to these 2. So I cut off what was left of that plant because it was obviously going to die if I just left it be. And I put it in some sphagnum moss in this little pot, and I actually took a jar, just like a standard mason jar, and just put it on top of this plant. I let it be for a couple of weeks, and when I came back, it was rooted up really nicely. So now I just have it sitting underneath a grow light, and you can see here I have these 2 tendrils coming out. So there's one here, and there's one here. No foliage yet. You can see like, the little like foliage buds forming, but they're, nothing's happened yet. But that's a little success story for me. I was really like nervous I was going to kill this plant, and that would have been like the end because I know that Hoyas are catching on, and I probably wouldn't have been able to find a Hoya Fungii for the price that I got. I think I got this for like $10. So it's a pretty good deal for Hoyas these days. So I was excited about that, and I would have been kind of upset if I lost it, but I'm really happy I was able to save it. And since it's been growing in moss for a while now in this pot, I think I'm going to eventually mount it and grow it on my wall, on my mount wall. But I want to let it establish a little bit more. It's been obviously very happy putting off these tendrils, and I'm worried that if I go ahead and mount it right now, it's just going to drop all of this growth. So I'm going to leave it be for a little while, but I think I'm eventually going to go ahead and add it to my mount wall. But it's been a really fun Hoya to grow. It kind of looks like Hoya australis, but its leaves are much more fuzzy and they have like a slight veination to them. So I think it's just a little bit more interesting. Hoya australis is rather common, so this one's just a little bit more out there. So it's just one that I kind of appreciate a little bit more in turn. So yeah, it's super cute. I really love it, and it's adorable, and hopefully one day it's a much more full plant because that's kind of how I'm envisioning it. And kind of also very closely related to Hoyas is this Ceropegia linearis. So this is one that's been popping up on the market this year that I've been very happy to see. I have another one in my home. I got a 6-inch pot, and then I was like within the next month, like at a plant store, and I found a little tiny 2-inch pot right here. So I ended up getting this one, and I actually kind of adore the little smaller one better because it's just freaking adorable in this green pot here. I just think it's like the most perfect little thing ever. But the other one that I have in my bedroom has proven to be like one of the fastest growing plants I grow in my home. I've been a big fan of growing Ceropegia linearis woodii, which is the string of hearts. So they call this string of needles, you can see why. And that plant has always been like the fastest growing plant for me, but ever since bringing this one into my home, It's kind of proven to grow a little bit faster than that one, and it grows like scary fast. This one I have in very heavily dappled light. It sits amongst like my box setup, if that makes any sense to anybody, but it's rather low light, still grows, you know what I mean? But the other one that I have in my bedroom directly next to my south-facing window has literally gone down to the floor and started to grow back up itself. It's got a mind of its own. So yeah, extremely easy houseplant to grow. The prices have been completely erratic. Like I said, I think the hanging basket that I got was like, I was selling it at the houseplant store for $55 because that's how much we had to sell it for. But then I stumbled upon this little 2-inch pot and I think it was like $2.95. So, you know, decide how much you're willing to spend on the plant. But a super cool house plant. I absolutely love it. I think this is one that probably won't really catch on. In fact, when I had it in stock at the houseplant store, they were sitting there for a while. Probably because they're $55, but also because people probably didn't really know what they are. Such an incredible plant. I'm really happy to see this one popping up on the market because I had seen it a little bit in the past and I didn't dream of ever getting my hands on it anytime soon because I was like, that's just a little too funky and fresh for the houseplant market. But you know, 2020 happened and things blew up in many, many ways. So yeah, I really love this houseplant. It's adorable. I'm excited for it to grow. I feel confident that even this little one here over time will be a very nice long strand of string of needles. I think it's great. And I guess while we're still in this family, I'll stick with the Hoya family. This is a Dischidia right here, or Dischidia, whatever you want to say. This is Dischidia imbricata. And I was so excited when I found this houseplant. Me and my friend, who is also a buyer, or she still is a buyer, I'm just not a buyer anymore, but she and I were out plant shopping and we stumbled upon a hanging basket of this. And I was so excited to find it because this is getting pretty specific, but as a buyer, of course, I would buy from plenty of different people. And one of the greenhouses that I would order through my broker had Dischidias. They had 4 Dischidias available, and they were always sold as Dischidia assorted, but they had the Jerry, they had the variegated Jerry, they had the Rucifolia, and they had this, the imbricata. But every time I ever ordered assorted Dischidias, I would only get the other 3. I would never get this, and I don't know if it was like because like people, this was definitely the most interesting Dischidia out of those 4, and maybe people in Florida were going and getting their first dibs on it. I don't know. It's not something I'm aware of, but it was just something I was like, damn, every time I opened the box of assorted Dischidias, and there was never Dischidia imbricata, and I just wanted one, you know what I mean? I would have been happy with a cutting. And we stumbled upon a hanging basket of it, and it was only like 20 bucks. So we ended up splitting it in half for $10 each. And this is just part of the plant because I ended up chopping up a couple of vines and making a mount with it, which I absolutely adore. I think I actually like it a little bit better than this pot, but it is a really adorable plant. It's something that really fits me like a glove. It's extremely visually undemanding with just these plain green round leaves. I think it's amazing. The way these grow on the plaque that I have is just like flat against the sphagnum moss, which I love. And actually in nature, I think how it kind of translates is that ants hide under these. I know a lot of Dischidias are ant plants, which means that in nature they have like a symbiotic relationship with ants. No, it's not going to bring ants into your home, but if this was growing up like a tree in nature, the ants would hide underneath these flat leaves as a surface or like a home to hide in. So I think that's pretty neat, you know what I mean? Like I said, have to reiterate that it's not going to bring ants into your home, but I just think it's a super neat little thing. But this is such a fun plant that I can grow in a pot or on a mount on my wall, which I absolutely love. It's a very versatile plant. Okay, let's get into some other ones because all we've talked about is Hoyas and Hoya relatives. So this is a nice leafy guy right here. So this is an Aglaonema. This is, I'm just gonna put the tray down. This is an Aglaonema. This was sold to me as Aglaonema Tricolor Echo. So I'm not positive. I will admit that some of the places that I purchased my plants from aren't the most reputable when it comes to like true taxonomy of these plants, but I still give them the benefit of the doubt and just say what they are. But yeah, this was sold to me as a Aglaonema Tricolor Echo, and I think it's absolutely gorgeous. I know it's just a plain green Aglaonema, but compared to the ones that we normally see on the market, the foliage, I think, is a lot more interesting. You don't normally see Aglaonemas with this foliage pattern. They're a lot more like, I don't know how to word it. They're a lot more like intentional looking with their patterns, but this one's just a lot more unintentional with just like random splotches here and there. So I really like that. This one's a really funky one. The way it was sold to me, it was kind of growing on an angle, and I couldn't really like situate it in the pot to make it grow upright. So it's just like this like whoop kind of deal. So it has a lot of character, but that's something I've actually grown to really appreciate about it. So of course I have it in a Berg's pot, which is like one of my favorite brands of pots. I always end up putting my favorite plants in my favorite kinds of pots. So this is one that I really have been enjoying this year. And it's not done too much. It's an Aglaonema or Chinese evergreen. They're known for being very slow growers. I think it's actually only grown these 2 leaves here, and I think it actually did drop 2 lower leaves, but you know, we haven't really gotten that far, but hopefully one day it's going to be a nice plant. But of course, plants do have to acclimate to your home. All of these plants I'm talking about today I've only acquired in the last year, and typically my plants need at least a year or so before they really get chugging along and put off some really nice foliage for me. So I made it this far with these, so hopefully I can make it that far and get some really nice plants out of these. But this is one that I'm really excited about. Aglaonemas are super easy. There's a bunch of them on the market, but sometimes it can get a little repetitive. Specifically when I was a buyer, I would see like the same ones over and over again. So that's kind of why I started looking online to find some kind of more interesting ones. So this is one I had to end up purchasing online. So yeah, Tricolor Echo Aglaonema, I think that's a really cool one. I do have another Aglaonema I actually would like to talk about today. So this is a rather new one to me. This is Aglaonema Chocolate. I think this is such a stunner of a houseplant. I think this is the Aglaonema doppelganger of Calathea ornata. You can see with these pink pinstripes it gets on the leaves. I think you can see it probably better on the back side, which also gets this lovely kind of maroon color, very similar to a Calathea, and the front side of the leaves are much more green. I just think this is absolutely adorable. This is one that I had been wanting to get in the store for so long, back when I was working at the store. We got them in one time, either earlier, like way earlier this year or late last year. And ever since then, I have been looking to get them because I never ended up bringing one home. And fortunately, in the last week that I was working at the plant shop, I was able to get in a box of them. And of course, I brought one home with me. Now, I have to admit, I actually didn't purchase this plant. This was a gift from Urban, but I went to the counter to purchase this, and then they decided that I wasn't paying for it, so I'm giving myself a pass and I'm including it in this video because I was literally about to pay for it, like had my debit card out and everything. So yeah, but it's just super cool. It's a plant that hopefully I have for a long time because I think this would be a really nice floor plant one day with the way that it's got this pink coloration really stand out amongst the rest, but only time will tell. This is one I'm actually curious if anybody is aware watching that this was sold to me as Aglaonema Chocolate when I was buying it from my broker. However, I do see either a very similar one, or I'm not sure if this is the same name for this plant, but it's something like Aglaonema rotundum or something like that, that I see go for like ridiculous amounts of money. So I'm not sure if it's like a patent thing or what's the deal, but if anybody has any info on that, I'm actually kind of curious, so feel free to let me know in the comments. But yeah, I would love to get some more Aglaonema in my home. I think it's kind of an underserved, underrated houseplant that people don't really pay that much attention to. They can go for a decent amount of money. Like I think this 6-inch pot was selling for like 45 bucks at the store. Because of their wholesale price, it's very high. And then once you get the colored Aglaonemas, like when I would order a case of green Aglaonemas, they would be like a couple dollars cheaper than a red or white Aglaonema. So this falls in that category of like the reds and the whites and the pinks. So these did cost a little bit more, but they are easy enough plants that I do feel confident once they acclimate to my home that they're going to do very well for a long time. When I bring Aglaonemas in my home, like I said, they have to acclimate. I'm not surprised usually if I have a couple of the lower leaves start to yellow, so I don't freak out if it's just like 1 or 2 at a time right in the beginning of its journey in my home. But I have had a couple of Aglaonemas in the past that have just like continued to yellow and I have no idea what was going on. So I'm always slightly worried about my Aglaonemas sometimes, but I feel like as long as I give them enough light, I feel like that's my issue. These are known for being low light plants, so sometimes I'm guilty of just shoving them in the lowest light areas of my home as soon as I bring them home. And that's not really how it works because these have been growing in greenhouses for a long time. So I do need to give them sunlight before I start to move them away from the windows. But yeah, just one thing I wanted to mention, but a super beautiful houseplant, really one of the most beautiful plants I've been growing in my home lately, and I think it's super cool that it really looks so similar to the Calathea ornata, but it's an Aglaonema, and those are a lot harder to kill than Calatheas. Okay, let's talk about this. This is a goldfish plant. So this is Nematanthus champagne jam. And what I love about this is how big the leaves are. They're huge. Like compared to normal goldfish plants that you see, this is like 10 times, if not more, the size of the leaves that you'll see. And also what I love about these leaves is the beautiful pattern that hides on the back. So it's just like the center of the leaf is all purple, which is something you'll see quite common in a couple other types of goldfish plant. But when it's on these large leaves, it really just stands out to me as something that's really something else. And I absolutely love it. This plant does flower just like goldfish plants do. I actually had a flower that was coming in, but a really big, juicy, ugly mealybug found its way to the flower and it just like annihilated it by itself, which is a shame. But gotta keep an eye eye out for the mealybug on this plant. I notice a couple here and there. I can see one hiding in the leaves here now, but it's something that, you know, I guess it's more detrimental to the flowers than the foliage, as it really wreaked havoc on that flower that I never got to see develop. Anyways, that's a different story for another day. I've been growing this one since earlier this year. I think I got it in like January or February, and it was just this one little vine here, and I'm starting to notice all along the vine and at the base is some new growth coming in. So I'm getting really excited about seeing all these little vines coming in, because hopefully by the end of next year, this plant will be just like a bunch of vines coming out and not just this one vine, because I kind of regret looking back not buying like 2 plants and having at least 2 vines coming out, but I think it's still beautiful as one vine. I'm just very much looking forward to the day where it's a much fuller plant, but I think we might be well on our way there from the looks of it. But yeah, I really love this plant because it's very easygoing. I just grow it in a west-facing window. It's hanging up. As you can see, it's in a hanging planter, and I can very visibly see when the leaves start to kind of like wilt and they'll kind of hang down, and they'll also feel kind of limp. I can use my taco test, if you're familiar, on these leaves to feel when it's time to water them. So it's very easygoing. Like I said, I just got to keep an eye out for the mealybug, because apparently they're a big fan of this plant. But other than that, it's been a really fun plant to grow. I think goldfish plants as well as Aglaonemas are very underrated house plants. So they're ones that if you don't already grow in your home, maybe you should give one a try, because you might be surprised over time how much you enjoy it, because I think they're quite phenomenal house plants, and they're very easy. A lot of goldfish plants are quite common. There's good reason why they're quite common, because it's that they are very easy house plants to grow. And regular goldfish plants, in my experience, flower much more readily than this one does, so it's also a nice thing to have flowering house plants in your home. Okay, so let's talk about this one next. So this is a begonia. It's a Begonia conchifolia, and this has been a trooper for me. I've been growing this one since the beginning of this year. I believe I got this one from Steve's Leaves. And you know, it's not the fullest plant. It was a little bit fuller a couple months ago, and then I decided it wasn't exactly as happy as I thought it was, but I recently moved it under a different grow light, and it's putting up all of this new growth for me, so I'm very excited. But this is the begonia that really like triggered me to get into begonias. I had been growing a couple angel wings prior, but they really weren't like that phenomenal of houseplants. They're just like the spotted plants, and they just kind of stand out amongst the rest, but it doesn't really make you like love begonias. It wasn't until I got this one that I was like, okay, begonias, I see you, and I'm willing to give you a try. This looks very similar to Pilea peperomioides and Peperomia polybottria. There are other couple plants that look very similar to this, but just like how the Aglaonema chocolate I thought was a doppelganger to Calathea ornata, this is totally a doppelganger to Pilea peperomioides. I think it's super neat, and I think it's really cool that it's a begonia because it has these really like thick, succulent leaves, and it's very like alien-esque in the way that it looks. I don't know, I think it's super interesting. I think it looks like something you would find in like a botanical garden, so it's something that I like to have sitting on my shelf in my bedroom so I can just enjoy it. I do grow this type of begonia. This is a rhizomatous begonia, and I know those as being difficult to grow. So I grow this one in my warm bedroom, like I said, directly underneath the grow light. I was growing it underneath one of those like red and blue purple grow lights for a while, and it just recently was like, nope, I'm not really feeling that, so I moved it underneath an LED grow light, and now I think it's saying, yes, I'm feeling that. But yeah, this one, just like I said, is a rhizomatous begonia, so I know those also prefer to stay a little bit more moist. I can dry out like a little bit. I just don't want it to sit bone dry, because I'm going to find dried up leaves on this plant if I do let it sit bone dry. But as far as rhizomatous begonias go, I feel like this one is a piece of cake compared to some of the other ones I've tried to grow. So like I said, this one has been kind of getting me into trying out some other begonias. So from after this one, I've been growing a couple other begonias in my home that I've really been enjoying. And I think it's a type of plant that I'm going to be getting a lot more into in 2021. And the nice thing about begonias is they're really not that expensive. So like I said, with the plant market being completely erratic right now, it's nice to find a plant that you really enjoy for less than $20, or at least around that, because some of these plants can go for a really pretty penny. And I think I only have one more to talk about today. So this is another one I got way early on this year. So this is a Syngonium. This is Syngonium macrophyllum. And I really enjoy this. And I want to point out too that I'm not positive, but I might have talked about either at my best plant purchases of 2019 or in like my top 10 plants. I didn't even check back, so I could be completely incorrect here, but I believe I talked about Syngonium chiapense, which is a very similar Syngonium to this. Syngonium chiapense has leaves that are a little bit more matte in their finish, and they also have a rounder leaf, while this one has shinier leaves, and it is kind of more elongated like a standard Syngonium. But I think this is just such a cool Syngonium. It's very tall, as you can see. It's like probably nearing like 2.5 feet tall at this point, and it's just such a joy to grow. I just have it sitting on one of my wooden boxes near a window, and I matched it with the green pot because the leaves are super green, and I think, like I said, it's such a joy to grow this plant. Syngoniums are extremely underrated. Talking about a lot of underrated plants today, I guess, but I think syngoniums are extremely underrated, and because the standard Syngonium podophyllum is just like such an underserved houseplant that people just like pass over when they're at the plant stores, that some of the other ones, they don't really seem to bother looking into them. So like I said, Syngonium chiapense is out there. This is Syngonium macrophyllum. There's Syngonium erythrophyllum. There's so many really cool Syngoniums out there. Syngonium tri-leaf wonder, that's another one I grow in my home that I think is really neat. So yeah, Syngoniums are incredible houseplants. That's another type of plant I should really be looking into getting in my home in 2021 if I'm looking to try some new things out, because every Syngonium I grow in my home, I absolutely love. I really need to get into propagating these, because many of my Syngoniums are just like 2 plants in the pot, and I've just let them be ever since I purchased them. And I could, like, you know, so easily, you see these little rootlets coming out here, or the node, I could so easily just take my clippers and cut here, root up this plant in water, and then replant it in the base of the plant, or plant it in another pot, or trade it with somebody for another Syngonium. So many options, but I think this is such a cool plant, very visually undemanding, the type of plant that I really like. So it's one that really stands out to me. Not expensive. Syngoniums, I don't think cost a lot of money as far as I'm aware. I'm sure some of them can be costly, like the variegated Syngonium is probably, you know, going up there in price. But this is one that I think I purchased at the beginning of this year for less than $20. So I'm not sure how much the price has gone up since then. I think I mentioned, or I might have mentioned, that I got this from Steve's Leaves. So yeah, really cool houseplant. I think this is a great aroid that people aren't really into. And if you're an aroid collector, you probably know that they're going up there in price. Some of them are worth their weight in gold, and this one is not. So that makes me appreciate it even more. Really easy to grow, just like other Syngoniums. If I don't water it enough, it'll get kind of like limp around the edges, similar to a Scindapsus pictus. So yeah, really easy to grow. I think that this is one I should be propagating and paying a little bit more attention to, because I absolutely love it. But yeah, that's gonna do it for today's video. Not top 10, best plant purchases of 2020. These are definitely the plants that I am most excited that I spent my money on for the most cases, or the ones I was willing to spend my money on for 2020, and I'm thrilled that I got them, because like I was saying, with the environment of today's plant market, I might not be able to get many of these plants as easily as I did at the beginning of this year. So let me know in the comments what was your best plant purchase of 2020. I'm very curious. And also let me know what you're looking forward to getting your hands on in 2021, or maybe something that you are hoping to get around the holidays this year. So anyway, thank you guys so much for joining me today. If you don't already, follow me on Instagram at Philly Foliage, subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys in my next video. Have a great day.